I welcome Drew Collins from, you say Lock Haven or Avis, PA?
Lock Haven.
Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. It's been a lifetime musician. And
Yeah.
as I said, now you're a man of the cloth. So,
Maybe in need of the washcloth, I suppose.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you for thank you being part of this. As I said, we want to get your story. We're going to start with like how is everything now? How are you adapting to all the changes and everything?
Well, I mean, I'm doing fine. I'm not. It's not. A lot of things haven't really changed for me. I've just it's in terms of if you're talking about like my faith and stuff like that. I've had that my whole life. It's just I didn't always what you would call walk in obedience. So I'm I was really far the other way, but it's good. I mean, I really haven't had a hard time.
With like
Shifting
all the COVID and you're trying to balance all the stuff that the changing world to. What is it like in Lock Haven? Where
it's the same. It's the
same,
same everywhere. It's
yeah.
the same here as it is over there. It's I know a few people who have got it. I know one person that died from it, not here, back home. Um, it's hit or miss. It's unpredictable. I knock on wood, haven't had it, haven't had the vaccination. I haven't got, you know, I haven't had any issues, but I would say out of the people I know, only a handful have actually got it.
Mm-hmm.
So it affects everything, but um, I don't know. I just kind of go with the flow. I know some people are up in arms about they have these really strong opinions about anti-vax or vax or
Mm-hmm.
don't go out or you always wear a mask or I'm never going to wear a mask. Man, I just try to make each situation as easy as I can to get
Yeah.
through it
Well,
because I'm
use
not going to
common sense.
yeah, I'm not going to die on that hill and get in an argument with somebody. And
Yeah.
it's easy enough just to move along and police yourself, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
musically, where did this whole thing start with you? Where did it all begin with you? Way back.
Way back. Well, I mean, I grew up in a house with music, mostly my mom playing music all the time. I mean, man, I grew up listening to Elvis and Creedence. And I mean, this was what was playing in my house, and that kind of stuff. And the Jackson 5, and um, I was a little kid watching all that stuff on TV. I mean, I knew I was in love with music from the time I was a kid, but when between the third and fourth grade, when I got my first Kiss album, I knew right then that I was destined to be a rock star.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty
Were
much
your
how that
parents
started.
terrified?
Oh yeah, they didn't like that at all. I mean,
Yeah.
that's especially Kiss because that was a whole weird thing for them. Back then,
Yeah.
Kiss was weird to people to grown-ups.
Were they religious people?
Nope, no. My parents were. I would call them probably the water, rice, dirt Christians. You go to church 3 times. First time you get baptized, they throw water on you. The second time you get married, they throw rice on you. And the third time's at your funeral when they throw dirt on you.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they were more kind of like in that crowd. But, I went to Sunday school once in a while as a kid. I'd get on the bus and
Yeah.
go and do that. And then went to church camp with some friends when I was little. And then as I got older, my mom started going to church. And so, I went some, but most of my spiritual pursuits were at my own doing.
Okay. Well, okay.
So yeah.
How far does that go back?
Oh, that goes back to my teens, probably. It's weird because people that know me, you don't know that part of me. And it's always been something I've been fascinated with. The reason I am a Christian is because I'm a hardcore skeptic with just about everything in existence. I demand proof. I don't believe a lot of things that other people believe. I don't, I think a lot of conspiracy theories are nonsense. I need to see evidence. And that's why I'm a Christian, because after looking into it my whole life, and then finally deciding to go to college and see the historical and archaeological, I'm convinced that there's an overwhelming amount of evidence that it's factual. So it's funny because sometimes I talk to people who are atheists and they say they're atheists because they're skeptics. And I say that's the same reason I'm a Christian, because I'm a skeptic and I need proof.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's I mean, it goes far back, man.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
now in your music, how far did you when did your rock star lifestyle or what your journey begin? When did you start?
Oh wow.
Did you
Well,
ever
I mean,
did you ever
I
play
got
guitar?
yeah, I got a guitar when I got a guitar when I was in the third grade, and I was mad because it was an acoustic guitar and I wanted an electric guitar.
Same here.
And yeah, I took some guitar lessons and hated it, hurt my fingers.
Same here.
I was, I thought, well, this isn't what I want anyway. So a lot of years went by. I didn't get an electric guitar, I think, till I was 13. And then, you start learning from neighborhood kids. And I'm sure it was some J.C. Penney stupid knockoff thing. And so, I started playing guitar and got in my first band. I think I was about 17, and I was the rhythm guitar player, which means, well, when you're older, if you're a rhythm guitar player, that's fine because we need those guys. But when
That's
you're
the
a kid and
song.
you start, huh?
That's the song. Rhythm guitar is the song.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's right. So, but I mean, I was a kid, so I get in a band with everybody older than me. It was weird because it was a band that played at biker parties. These were hardcore people, and I'm 17 years old, and nobody ever messed with me because I was not a challenge. I wasn't a threat to anyone. So,
Yeah.
I never, it was us. It was some crazy stuff, man. We played these big biker parties, and yeah, I just played because the guy that played lead guitar was like way better than me. And so then, I played guitar for bands for a while. And one time we had a show where the singer was too drunk to sing. And so I sang. And then after that, I started doing more of it. And then I just kept doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love it. I mean,
So you started singing later.
well, this all happened when I was before I was 19. So, by the time I'm 19 years old, I'm singing for bands.
Okay.
So that's, yeah.
Okay. That was Spider.
Spider, Spider was right around 18, 19. I played guitar for that band.
Okay.
So I didn't sing for that band. And when I said the singer was bad, it wasn't Spider. It wasn't that band. It was the one after that. I don't remember the name,
Is that
but,
Zeus?
no. I was a singer for that band. You're going way back, man. So that was Kevin Amici and Ron Zenko was in Zeus, and Mike Fournier. That was that was a cool band. That was well, because when you're young, you go through this long process of before you know what you are musically, you have to go through this process of finding out what you are not. And so we were really young. We were kids. Kevin and I lived in the same house, and we were trying to do this stuff everybody else was doing, this glam stuff, and we weren't good at that, man. And we discovered pretty quickly that that's not going to work. So we went on and decided to do well, back then they called it thrash metal. That was one of the words. I wouldn't call it that, but
I think everything that was thrash metal back then is now turned into heavy metal now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Kevin Amici and Ron Zenko really ran that band. They're the ones that had, I just kind of went along and had fun with it. Kyle Kelly, he was our first drummer. We were in a band called Cheater, and then that was kind of a glam type thing, and the rest of us, Kevin and Ron basically said, man, this isn't going to, we're no good at this. This is no fun. Let's not do this. Let's do jeans and t-shirt metal. And, some people call it thrash metal, whatever. Kyle wanted to stay in with the more of that kind of I don't know if you call it glam or whatever, which wasn't a stupid thing because it drew, people came out to see that.
Yeah.
And so, he would be in bands that were getting better crowds, and we had our integrity and no crowds.
All right.
No, well, no, that's not true. We did. I'm underselling. We had a good time. We had a few crowds, but that was
Yeah, but they're mostly guys with their arms crossed.
yeah. But no, there were girls, but like I said, that's when you're a kid and you're like really discovering who you are, what you want to do with the music and stuff, and that's certainly where I was at that point. So, just learning who you are, man. That
Yeah.
was probably Zeus was probably the first place that I got to do that because
Okay. Everything
it was
before that was kind of a
well, everything before that was developmental stuff, but Zeus was the first time I got to sing that kind of stuff and do that kind of stuff, and it felt good to just it was the first time I think it all felt really really good. So I owe a thank you to Kevin Amici and Ron Zinko for that because they really steered that band. They made all the decisions, and then they would come out and make me feel like I was involved. And I don't know how old I was, 19 or I was pretty young, man. I was pretty young. We all were. So yeah, we had a lot of fun.
yeah, good.
Yeah,
So
yeah, doing the heavy stuff.
after Zeus was your mama.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yep, that was Bam Bam. I think everybody knows him. He was an awesome drummer. I haven't seen him in years. I don't know what he's doing now. Brad Roach played guitar, which he was just kind of a blip on the radar in the music. Todd Bettler played bass because we went through different transitions in that band. That's the most solid lineup, and that was a fun band. I mean, it was just fun. It was everybody was good at what they did. Everybody got along, and again though, I think everything but before age 25 was just kind of a classroom of learning.
That was
learning
college.
It's learning what you're good at, and me and all those guys are just like everybody else in the music scene in Columbus. You get in and out of bands and you meet people. That's when you build your bridges, your relationships. You learn who you can jam with, who you can't, and So yeah, that was your mama. I forgot about that name. Yeah, we used that name for a hot minute.
So what did that turn into?
That changed into the hard liquor, which was I'm trying to think. That was just me completely leaving that band, I think. And then I got with Tony Stanzak from he moved in Columbus from Erie, Pennsylvania. And before that I could connected with Carl Gunther, who is an incredible player and was probably one of my best friends at the time. We lived together too. And it changed into hard liquor. That's what it changed into. Carl, I forget what happened with Todd. It's a little fuzzy, man, because like I said, back then we were all in and out of bands like constantly. You'd be with one band for a year or 6 months and then putting your own band together. And it was weird because back then the big thing was when you were the small guys, the guys that are opening for everybody, it's like everybody's trying to find the right combination of dudes to get your band together so your first stepping stone would be to headline at the Alrosa.
Yeah.
And so not to open and not to headline a Thursday, but to headline a weekend. And that was like a sign that, hey, you're doing good. You're hitting on all cylinders. You're drawing. You do. So all the musicians seem to go in and out of different bands with each other until they felt like they had the right formula or whatever. Like these guys have an awesome guitar player. These guys have an incredible frontman singer, and this guy's a killer drummer, you know, whatever. And so all the guys, the young dudes in the bands are all trying to get to put their dream band together so they can make it. And you know, I was no different. I was doing the same thing. So yeah, Hard Liquor was the last one. If we're going to go by band, we're going to be here a long time. But anyway, Hard Liquor was you know, that's when that band started to get some attention for a, you know, an okay band.
Okay.
You know,
So
we weren't.
I think the band that most people know.
Yeah.
U4 is Saddleback Shark.
Yes. Yeah, that was the big one. Yeah, but after Hard Liquor, there was a couple of. Yep, I met Rob Johnson, and so it was Rob Johnson, Tony Stanzak, and Carl Gunther, and it was Saddleback Shark. And yep, so we had this these incredible lineup, and then we recorded. We did 2 albums, and you know, when you're young, man, you want to do all these things. Like you think, oh, I can't wait to get in a studio for the first time, and a real studio, not my basement. And then you do that, and as soon as you're finished, you're like, now what? And then you want to get something on the radio, and then you do that, and then you go, now, if I could, I want to record an album, and then you do that. Everything you do is a big deal until you do it. Yeah, and then you do it, you're like, so what's next, you know? And so that, you know, we kept going with Saddleback Shark, did 2 albums, and then we got John Holman in the band, and that was funny how that happened, because they kicked Tony out of the band, didn't tell me, and got a new drummer, and Tony was my roommate. All right. we were that was weird. That was a weird situation. So I met John Holman on very bad terms. I wasn't looking forward to meeting him at all. Yeah. I got to band practice, meet this guy for the first time, and I'm like, this isn't going to go well, because my intention.
It was not a democracy.
Well, there was personal stuff going on behind the scenes between, like Rob and Tony. There were just these weird dynamics, and just, I don't know, man. It's personalities had a lot to do with it. And then, but then they kept telling me, you know, just give it a chance. Just give it a chance. Just come in and listen just once. So I rode up there on my Harley, and I had an attitude, a chip on my shoulder. I walked in to see who this guy was, and he just destroyed me when he played those drums. I'd never heard anyone in person play drums like John Holman. And well, I'd never been in a room with anyone who could play guitar like Rob Johnson or Carl Gunther that could play bass like that. I'm just lucky that I wound up with these people that are prodigies at what they did. And I had no idea that they would bring a drummer in who was the same caliber of a musician. So when he played, I just, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, it's like thunder comes in the room, and I don't know if you've ever seen him play live, but he is a destroyer, man. He's really, really, really good. So that was our, that was the lineup with Saddleback Shark. And then we it's funny because we recorded an album, the 3rd album, and it started getting heavy. The music started getting heavy. And
so you started out, what was the vibe?
The vibe was kind of like
when you started,
funky metal type of type. I mean, it was hard, but it had a lot of funk, a lot of slap bass in it. It was metal, but it had a lot of that in it, you know, a lot of slap. I don't really know who to compare it to. I don't know, man. It's not like the Chili Peppers or any of that kind of stuff, but
back in the day, there was a band called White Trash. I don't know. I don't know. They were funk metal.
Right.
Metal, maybe parts of Faith No More.
Yeah, we had some stuff like that, but that wasn't our key sound. I think our key sound was just metal. Since we did a few songs like that, some people said we were funk metal, but the truth is the majority of our songs weren't that way. So, but once we got to the third album, we did the Killing System, and we got some little record deal in Europe. And well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me say this: we recorded the songs, we had them in the can, ready to go, and then Carl left the band. So because he didn't want to do heavy stuff, and so, and we're good friends. We'd been friends forever. He was my best friend. I mean, it's funny. His mom used to call and talk to me to check on him. And I'm not the person you want in charge of your kid.
Yeah.
Back then, I mean.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, Carl left the band, and then we decided that we got Gil Graham in the band, and decided that we're going to re-record the album, because what's weird is at the time Rick May, the drummer for, I think he was a drummer for DC Talk, which is a Christian band, and he heard our album and he said, let me re-record your whole album, because he has a studio. And man, by the time I'm done recording that many songs, I never want to hear those songs again for a long time. But last thing I wanted to do was go re-record them all. But we did it, and they came out better. And plus, we kept, we wrote a lot more too. We put some of the songs, most of the songs are new that we wrote with Gil, and Gil was what we needed for that music. And I knew Gil from way back, because we were kind of, I don't know what you call it. We were both rednecks. I don't know. I just knew Gil from the music scene. And so we got along awesome. We always got along. I would bump into him all the time. Yeah. And I knew he could throw down on the bass. So when I asked him if he was interested in joining, he said, yeah, so it was kind of an easy thing. We said, yeah, well, let's do this. And we did. And he got in a band, and we did the third album, and it was, that's it, man. And then we did get some little record deal in Europe. I remember getting one check and so that's where Saddleback, that's when we stopped. That was our final album. Now, a lot happened after that, in terms of playing and recording and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it was man, that was a fun band. It was weird, because that's the point where Saddleback Shark was my band. I built it from the ground up with Carl, and we picked Rob, and then they got John, and then I wanted to get Gil. I started this from the beginning, and then it succeeded. We was getting reported to Polestar, and they were all standing room only, and we were getting national rags, Metal Edge and write-ups and all that stuff, and international airplay, and it looked like things were going to go, and things never went. And so, but I think that's the case with a lot of bands. You go through all the stuff we were just talking about when you're with all your dudes and all your friends and getting in and out of all your bands, and then when you get into one, you get so far, and then, but politics was a big part of stuff back then. We didn't have the internet, so, and I wasn't well versed in etiquette with a lot of people back then. So I don't know, man. It was a fun ride. I told Gil, I told Dwight Farmer, I'll get to that later. He's probably one of my best friends. We were having a conversation one time. I said, man, if you look at it, like a lot of dudes that were in bands say they never made it. They thought, oh, I didn't make it. And I said, but the truth is, if we would have had access to money and women and drugs, anything we wanted, we'd be dead. Yeah. I said, so technically we did make it.
Well, the other part of this, what is making it?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
What is making it? In other words, the journey is the reward.
Exactly. Well, right, but
you don't see that at the time.
It took me forever, and that's the point I was making. It took me forever to realize that. It's a cliche saying, but the thing about happiness isn't getting what you want; it's wanting what you've got. And the journey and the experiences, all those guys I played with and all those bands were were, man, it was so much fun. I mean, the whole learning process.
How many of these people are you still in touch with?
I'm friends with some of them on Facebook. When I became a pastor, I started over on Facebook because I had like 5,000. I don't know. I had friends, people I didn't know. They knew me, but I didn't know them.
Yeah.
So I shut down the page and then I started over. So most of the people on my page now I really know. As far as the ones I'm in communication with, I go back and forth texting once in a while with like Todd Bettler, and I talk to Dwight Farmer all the time. I would say Dwight's probably my best friend, even though miles separate us now. Rob and I talked to Rob, the world's tallest fourth grader. John gave him that name, and John is right. No one's ever made me laugh as hard as Rob Johnson because he is the world's tallest fourth grader. And Carl's in North Carolina. I talk to him about once every year and a half. Not too often. He's got his own, I think he has a music academy or something. He played in orchestra too. Carl's freaky good. Yeah. And but not just at his instrument.
Did he bring the funk?
What's that?
Was he the funk in Saddleback Shark?
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, yep, yeah, he was. Every single person brought a different element. Like I can go back and think about guys that I played in bands with that they weren't may have not been, they couldn't play like arpeggios and all that kind of stuff, but they were really, really good at something. And I've always told anyone I've been involved with musically, I said, man, it's the songs. I mean, it's the Beatles have already shown the entire rock and roll industry that it's about advanced simplicity. It's the song, man. It's the songs. It's not I don't care how good that guy is or how good this guy is, and that'll float you for a while. Like Van Halen, as good as Eddie Van Halen is, it wouldn't have mattered if they didn't have good songs. Yeah,
be a shrapnel dude.
Yeah. So all the guys I've ever played with there's something I've learned from.
And they had a character, something definable that was this makes them. And
exactly. And I've been really fortunate to interact with all the people I did, even the guys, when I was in bands when I was young, because when you're all learning at the same time, you look back on that stuff and think I'm grateful for all the stuff I was able to learn. So I was always, man, from a young age, I wanted to write music. And I know there's a lot of bands that want to go out and make the coin, and they need to make the dough, and they do the covers. And some of them crush it. I mean, they're really, really good at it. Like like Matt Bradley. There's not many people out there. There's not that many Matt Bradleys. Those guys command high dollars when you need one. And so, because music, like whether you write it or whether you play a cover, I mean, music belongs to all of us, man. It's the key of life, for all of us. So I never like had a thing against cover bands, but I was delusioned enough at a young age to think, well, if I'm going to be a rock star, I got to write music. So, so that's the route.
Just didn't get where they got by covering the New York Dolls.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, as I got older, we would do a cover or two, and it was a lot of fun. And as I got older and more settled down, I'm like, yeah, that's cool, But the writing stuff and when it was hitting on all cylinders, and you felt like it was good stuff, and Saddleback was doing great, and me and Gil were on Jerry Springer. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not.
But
it was. I did interview Gil. I don't know if you knew that.
I watched it.
Yeah. Okay.
I was correcting him.
All right.
Talking to the screen.
All right.
I love Gil, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, we go way back. And I went over to his apartment a few years ago. And this is what's weird. I don't even remember why. And I wasn't doing drugs or drinking or anything. But I went over there, and Merv from The Point. Merv?
Of course, yeah.
So it was me and Gil and Merv. And I don't know why we were in Gil's living room singing songs and laughing and telling him jokes. And I'm trying to remember what the deal was. I had an acting gig because I do film, and I was in theater major and in productions. I was supposed to act in a film, and for some reason, I don't know why I did it, but I called Merv and I said, "Hey man, do you want this part in this film? I can't do it, and I need to give him a name." And Merv, being Merv, said, "Sure, I'll do it." And so he did. And then a few months later, this is the weird stuff that happens with people that rub shoulders throughout the years of the music industry.
Yeah.
They were over at Gil's house and sitting on the couch doing tunes and singing and stuff. And it's weird because, and Gil and I were on the Jerry Springer. I could talk to you for hours about just weird, funny stuff that just has happened. I mean, there's lots of it, man. There's a lot of it. Yeah, but I saw the interview with Gil. I enjoyed it. I watched a couple of other ones too. I love hearing these guys talk about the stuff that was happening back then, because you go back and it's like it's really cool. I mean, because I know a lot of guys, I was an alcoholic hardcore. I mean, I did drugs and blow and all that stuff, but alcohol was my big issue. That was my addiction. That's what almost killed me. And I hear the horror stories, and I got those, but at the same time, I did a lot of stuff I'm proud of. Not everything I did was raunchy and lewd, and I mean, I learned a lot. I made a lot of friends. I got to play music. There's good in there too. It's not just all, and some guys talk.
That if the journey wasn't a noble one, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Right.
If it was just about debauchery.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not about just debauchery.
No,
this wouldn't even be a discussion if all we were talking about is conquests. And
well, no, but I'm talking about some guys look back on it like almost with pain, because it's all they can talk about is addiction.
That's what Dwight was kind of inferring before the guilt that he had at the end of his when he hit rock bottom. He had a lot of guilt.
Oh, I know. Yeah. We're really tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was around. Well, creatively speaking, I've been connected with Dwight more than anyone else, which is really weird, because I mean, for other people maybe to hear that, because when we both got out of what I would say is our prime, then we started working together, writing songs together, writing music together. Neither of us were clean, and so. Then after that, when Dwight became a Christian, and I scoffed and said, "Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it." And then later I did. And then I ended up going to college for ministry. And then we started working on film and writing and music together. And it's weird because, I think he told you about Matt Miller, our drummer, who was an atheist, who came to the church to fill in and then ended up becoming a Christian. And then Trent Anderson, another one of my closest friends, we all ended up at the same church after all the years of being scattered all over the place, all kinds of booze and all kinds of craziness. We young dudes that were going to take over the world and, not shy about letting anyone know it. And then we all end up at the same map dot, and writing music together again, and singing and recording. And Dwight, I talk to Dwight all the time. And, he's I confide in him and he confides in me. We're close. So yeah, man, you're right. He did, but Dwight also did a lot of good. I mean, he inspired a lot of people. He crushes it on stage.
I'm not saying his self-assessment of himself was an accurate one.
Yeah. In
other words, he felt a certain kind of way that, and I don't, as I said, if I thought it was only debauchery, that's not a story,
right?
Right. I mean? That's not something I want to share, because it's like this journey that you're on. Yeah, it has that stuff in it, but it's like but there's a lot of good. And it's like, when did you start acting? You were talking about acting. Was that
after Saddleback Shark? It's I've done a lot of things musically, but I got to a point where I felt like I had done everything I wanted to do, and I couldn't put another band together that was quite like that one. I was in a band called High Water Down with Ed Spires and Trent Anderson and Jeff Robb, and this band was awesome. We did some covers, we wrote some music, we just had a blast. There's another weird story. Um, Rocco Reedy, he's U2 stage manager.
Yeah.
He lives and kind of close to Powell. So he used to jam with us because he wanted a band to jam with when he was home. He didn't want to play gigs. He didn't want to play out. He just would come over, or we'd go over to his house, which his basement looks like a museum. I mean, because he's worked with all the big bands. And I know you're probably thinking, dude, come on, really? Really, I'm being serious.
Well,
And he's I ask him a bunch of questions. I mean, he's just a normal guy, but the work ethic it takes to do that job is what I was blown away. I wasn't like starstruck or anything, but I know what their stage looks like and how much work that takes. And so that's another weird thing. But so anyway, the high water down thing. When I was in high water down, and after a while, I was still drinking pretty heavy, but I got to a point where during that band, actually right before that, I thought I'm going to go to school for something. So I went to school for the performing arts and film and theater, and I was going to major in theater. I was involved in 3 productions. I did film and sound design. The one I acted 5 roles in and did that. It won the Roundtable's best production of the year. It was called Titanic: A Retrospective. It was a play based on the court battles after the Titanic.
so you started theater after all this.
Yeah, after all this, and then and then I did films.
You think the music had anything to do with the fact that you were so ripe to be good at this?
Well, I mean, I wasn't shy about being on stage, and so I mean, people that know me know. I mean, I've been the opposite of shy in a lot of bad ways. I have shown all of Columbus that there's more than a few bad ideas running around out there.
That might be the quote of the
day. Some people that you talk to may bring some of those things up, but I don't know. So this was after that. Okay. And I got into theater and acting and film, and then I got a scholarship. I went to Columbus College of Art and Design and wanted to do multimedia. And then I just got so disgusted one day with liberal sensibilities in school. It made me want to puke. So I literally, this is a true story. I got up, I got tired of anti-God sentiment in a liberal learning institution. I got up like I was on autopilot. I left, I drove to Ohio Christian University, and I sat in the waiting room to talk to one of their folks down there. And I said, I want to enroll here. And he said, well, come in my office and tell me your story. And I did. And he looked at me like I had lobsters crawling out of my ears. And he said, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, yeah, I want to do this. And he said, what do you want to major in? And I said, ministry. And he goes, that's like a calling. That's not, I mean, you're not going to go make a lot of money doing that. I said, I know that. That's what I want to do. And so I talked to this guy for about a week every day. And he said, a lot of your credits won't transfer because performing arts and all that stuff's not going to transfer. And I said, yeah, I know. And I could tell he thought I was nuts. And, but for me, it felt like I was being grabbed by the scruff of the neck. I felt like I got everything I wanted. I got to do everything I wanted to do. I got to go everywhere I wanted to go. And I know, just like you or any other human being, in some people's story, I'm the hero, and in other people's stories, I'm the villain. And I get that. There's a lot of people I wish I could go back and say I'm sorry to, but time to do. You still always got to try to do what's right.
Yeah. So
I did feel a calling. I thought, man, I need to do something for other people, because all I've done is take and take and take and take, and everything the world had to offer me, I would open my mouth and gulp it down. And I did. I felt pulled to do it, and I'm happy I did it, because it led to to where I am now, which is the lead pastor of an amazing church in Avis, Grace Fellowship Church in Avis, Pennsylvania. And it's not like anything I ever experienced. And I still encounter people from way back when who cannot believe that I'm a pastor. That blows them away.
Well,
And
that's the best kind of stuff, though, because it's like you lived life. You're not everyone was, because I went to school at Millersville University, and I was raised Unitarian, and I am Unitarian, but I believe that everybody has their own journey, and as long as your journey is a healthy one, who am I to say what is right and what is wrong? But in Millersville, everybody never questioned anything. In other words, there's some respect to be given to somebody who has raised hell and sowed his oats and has lived a life. You know what I mean? There's a certain amount of disobedience that can be a good thing. I'm not saying the balance. I don't know the balance.
No, I get that, man. I still rebel. I rebel against what's not truth from my perspective. I rebel against deception, deceit, what is not truth. And it's interesting that you made a point right at the beginning there a second ago that when I was one of the people that were instrumental in mentoring me and getting me into this position, he was a liaison between me and this church. He told me, he said, one of the things I like about you is you've already done everything. I'm not worried that you're going to come in here and decide you need to go sow your oats.
Yeah.
he said, you've learned.
You have no more oats to sow.
Yeah, exactly. He said, you've learned everything. You know all the bad ideas, and you know when people talk to you, which is true. When people tell me, oh, you don't understand, you're a pastor, I'm like, oh, you don't know the half of it. Yes, I do understand. And so, and I think God can take anything bad and use it for something good. And, I tell addicts that because Dwight and I, it was my wife's idea, started Mars, a lot, MAARS, Mars, marsalive.org. That's specifically aimed at musicians. It's for anyone. But I deal with addicts all the time, and I counsel people, and I tell people, listen, you can take your bad experiences and use it for something good. Because right now there's some kid across town smoking meth, and in a year you're going to walk in a room because you're clean, and he's going to listen to you because you used to smoke meth, and you're going to pluck him out of the fire. You're going to help this kid, and you're going to tell him he's going to respect you because you beat it, and now you're going to help him beat it. So that's how I try to get people to take the bad stuff and convince them you're a superhero waiting to happen, man. All your bad ideas that you've done can now be used to help someone else. And so that's, I try to encourage people when they get too down on themselves, because you can take, it's never too late, man. It's never too late to take everything bad in your life and put all that buckshot in one big shell to shoot it against the enemy that tries to keep people down, to help people, So anyway, I sound like I'm preaching, but
no, that's what I want out. That's what I want you to do.
Yeah. All right, man.
Speak your truth. But I agree totally. In other words, I respect that, and I will listen to somebody like that more than I will listen to somebody who never ever rebelled against anything that was. In other words, your beliefs are yours.
Right.
You're not somebody who's never questioned. The ones that have never questioned anything don't really know why they believe in what they believe.
I know. Some people do. They just get in line and follow like sheep.
Yeah.
I've been everywhere now. Since I've been doing this, man, I've been in penitentiaries and
that's what I would call the good work. You're doing the good work.
Weird. It's really strange because I didn't think I'd ever do it. In fact, I said I wouldn't do it. Sometimes there's funny stuff that happens. Like I was in there one time for 3 days. We was in this penitentiary. Eddie Spires got me. They voted for me to be the spiritual leader, which means I counsel these inmates. We're in this big, massive room. And then guys like me, pastors and stuff, are sitting at this one table. They have all this stuff organized. And I'm telling you, this is a funny story. So this one guy has been sitting next to me for 2 days, right? Well, I leaned over and asked him, see, he was a convict and I didn't know it. I thought he was a pastor, but he was a trustee. And so me thinking he was another pastor, I said, are you going to come back next year? And he said, what? I said, are you going to come back next year? And he said, I'm an inmate. And I go, oh, and then I felt really stupid. And he goes, I took someone's life. And I didn't know what to say. So I went, well, that'll do it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and just weird stuff like that. But what's weird is when you're in there, you're talking to guys who might be like 45 years old, right? And then when he was 19, he shot somebody in a robbery. And he's a totally different person now. And you're like, you know, and they say, I don't even know that kid. I wish I could go back and talk to that kid. I hate that kid. You know, and it's a weird thing to see someone whose life is over and has been there for 25 or 30 years. And it's a whole different human being than the one who did that thing that long ago. And another pastor said to me, he said, man, this is a weird place to be. He said, because I feel like some of these guys shouldn't be in here. He said, but if I was the family member of the guy they killed, I'd never want him out of here. And it's a weird situation to be in. I mean, all the stuff I experienced in the music industry is unique unto itself, but the stuff I've experienced as a pastor is way heavier.
So
I mean,
one of the things that as far as the prison system goes, trying to make them or get them in the light.
yeah,
Better choices. Try to, you know, I know from my own friends who work in the prison system that the overriding idea is that they're animals, and that's not the way. That is not. First of all, it's not Christian. That's not Jesus.
right.
You know what I mean? But second of all, that's not the way to be.
That's
not the way
right.
to be. So that in other words, what I said, I would think of that as the good work.
Jesus hung around people that most of the rest of us try to avoid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like
You're right.
But
You're right.
everybody who is, it depends on who the higher up is.
Well,
A lot of the time it's like as the umbrella attitude, the overwhelming attitude of the officers are. But
right.
if the higher up guy views them this way, he's gonna, all that stuff comes down, and it's like, yeah, what you're doing is wonderful. As I said, that is yeah.
Oh, well,
Did you ever bring music into any of that?
well, with Dwight, you know, when I was at the river, we sang all the time, and we didn't have as much time to write as we used to, but Dwight and I worked together on, man, music, writing, filming, everything. It's like, but you know, it's not like the old days, because now he's the media director over there. I was an associate or assistant pastor over there before I came here. And, you know, the time, you don't have the time that you had when you're a young dude and you dedicate everything to your band. You know, when I was in Saddleback Shark, we practiced, you know, 4 nights a week for anywhere from 2 to 5 hours of practice. And so, you know, you get older, you get married, you have kids, life starts getting, you know, things happening, and you don't have that kind of time. So,
Yeah. What I'm
we
saying
both
is,
want to.
I'm saying is, you go into the church. Is there any way that you could use music as a healing tool?
Yeah, I mean,
Or a
people,
teaching
well,
tool?
when
A
people
teaching tool.
sing, a what tool?
A teaching tool.
Yeah,
Because a lot of times you can use music and they don't even know they're being. In other words, the best teachers don't make it aware that they're teaching.
Right. Well, music does that for all of us, man.
Yeah.
Music. So, I mean, I learned more from Iron Maiden than I did in history class.
Yeah, of course. Primer the Ancient Mariner, and
that was exactly. I was reading the lyrics to your Iron Maiden album. It was like taking a history class.
Yeah.
I know that was kind of an obscure reference.
Flight of Icarus and.
Oh yeah. Steve Harris was Steve Harris was my first favorite bass player.
Yeah.
I didn't know that someone could crush the bass like that until I started getting Maiden albums. I'm like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
But you know, I was a kid, teenager. I don't know how I got down. Yeah, but music is, yeah, you can use music to teach, to heal. Music, man, music gets everything right. I mean, just repeating a chorus. I mean, just it's funny. I just, you know, I listen to so many kinds of different types of music. I was checking a few months back on my Alexa thing. I didn't know that Alexa records your voice every time you talk to it. So I found out when I logged on there and I was listening to myself, and the phrases that I used the most were Alexa, play Beethoven, and Alexa, play Little Richard. And those are the two things I said the most to Alexa. So, but music, man, you're right. Yeah, it's good for teaching. It's good. Where I am now, it's really, really hard for me because there's not as many people. It's not as populated as an area. In Columbus, in Central Ohio, there's 100 guys I could call to put a band together. Here, I'm still trying. I'm still trying to find people, and it's really, really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you do things with acting and film, and you know what you can to get creative.
Yeah. Would you like songwriting? Yet, as I said, you could go into jail and write songs about different things that are supposed to be whatever you went into the prison system for.
We used music in the prison system. Yeah. Now, you know, you talk about some of the guards being hardcore.
I will tell you this, that is making it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
oh, I see what you're saying. You're right. It is. It is, man.
That is some rock star stuff.
It's a feeling you don't ever forget. There's this song by Zach Williams, because most Christian music is horrible, I think, and most Christian films are horrible. And that's what Dwight and I want to change, because too many of the movies are like after school specials and they're predictable. And you go, oh, here comes the evil guy that needs saved. And the music gets different. And they go, he needs God. He goes, hey, you silly Christians. And it's just dumb. The movies are predictable and dumb, and they need to make good ones. There's a few good ones, but not many. And some of the music, the Christian music, is like bumper sticker Jesus stuff, and it just makes me sick. And not all of it. There's some good songwriters out there. They got soul and they rock and they bring it, and you can feel it. But the whole Christian movement, there's too much Ned Flanders in there, and they need to have guys that are normal. They need Dwights, they need Trents, they need Drews, they need guys that can bring it and it's real. It's not so bubblegummy. And I think it's an insult for me, to Jesus, to make him some kind of a, I don't know, man.
Well,
latest
Jesus, that wasn't his message isn't trite.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of the Christian music, they approach it from the lowest hanging fruit.
Right. Because and the lyrics are dumb. They you know, when I see these people come in and they go, who's in the house? Jesus. Who's in the house? I'm like, that sounds like a cheerleader. You know, you want someone to stir your soul. You need someone that can sing like Chris Cornell singing about Jesus. I mean, you need somebody like that, and where his guts and his soul hangs out of his mouth. You need that kind of stuff. To me, it's an insult to do that kind of poppy cheese whiz stuff, because we're talking about the Son of God. And one of the reasons people don't take it seriously is because other people decorate it with garbage and nonsense and make it look like a backdrop to a pop culture. And I wouldn't want to be involved in that either. Mm-hmm. They make Jesus look like a sissy, and he's not. They emasculate him, and he's so misrepresented. And that's why a lot of men don't want to do it, because all they see is an effeminate guy in a white robe telling other people to strike him on the other cheek. And they think, that's not for me. Well, I mean, Jesus was a man's man. If he lived in our culture, He'd know how to frame a roof. He'd know how to throw a football. He'd wear jeans and a t-shirt, and he'd probably work longer than anyone else at the job site. That's the kind of guy, that's the kind of a man he was.
Mhm.
Anyway, now I'm getting on a soapbox, but anyway, so yeah, that's, with Dwight and the friends I write with, you were talking about teaching it and the powerful stuff it can do in the prison. And I was going to tell you, you're right. I had a whole room, and I know a lot of guys in prison are con artists, and they'll lie and they'll pretend. I know that, but there's also ones who are redeemed and clean. I had a whole room of guys. I handed out these papers. I said, I'm going to sing this, and I want you to sing it with me, because I just got done preaching with them. And it's the lyrics to a Zach Williams song. And it's hard to imagine this, but you get like a couple of hundred big men, and I started singing that line, I will lift my hand and drop these chains, walk out free in Jesus' name. And over, lift my hands, drop these chains, walk out free in Jesus' name. And their voices rumbled this gymnasium. They were all singing this a cappella. And man, I could feel the hair on my neck stand up. I can feel it now talking about it. I didn't want to be anywhere else on the planet. These men knew they weren't going to go anywhere, but because of their faith, they were singing this at the top of their lungs. And you're right, that's rock star stuff. It ain't me that did it; it's God that did it. But I was the lucky one.
That's what I'm saying is, that was not a life of failure in any kind of thing. In other words, what we think when we're kids, and the idea that we think, well, this is making it. Maybe the music and what the healing that you can offer people with your understanding of your belief and your understanding of music, that is the Grammy Award.
I'm telling you, man, you're right. There's no one can ever take that from you. Yeah. I mean, God puts you in positions where you feel like you really have done something that has contributed, and
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
and that's what everybody wants.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, and I know you know this, there's guys you've met in your life that got stuck on somewhere 15 years ago. They're still doing the same stuff. You're like, dude,
30 years ago.
30 years. Yeah. And you're like, man, and you almost feel bad for them, man. You want to say, come on, man. I mean, I sound like Joe Biden. Come on, man. You don't know what to say, so you just say, come on, man. Anyway, but some of these guys get stuck in their 20s and they're still doing the same stuff and they're still stuck in the same holes. And I'm like, man, that's sad. That's just sad. Yeah. And it breaks my heart to see that, because I don't like seeing dudes, still killing themselves. Uh-huh. And it's crazy. It's crazy. And that's, why Dwight and I are so passionate about wanting to have higher quality Christian entertainment stuff like music and films, because there are good ones. There's real good ones. There's just not enough of it. there's too much of it that's just like, man, it's no wonder people think we're nuts, because look at a lot of the stuff that's out there representing us. I wish more artists would get serious. It's like, when you brought up that point earlier about when you've lived a life on the, kind of doing the wrong stuff, I mean, God does let you you get to keep the experiential learning, and you can take anything bad and use it for something good.
Yeah.
And I think like the guy's song I was just butchering, Zach Williams, man, he's a good songwriter. His lyrics aren't stupid. They're not corny. He brings it. And there's a few others, but it's powerful stuff. Now I'm talking into a circle like I'm getting on my soapbox again, man. Nick, what's your next question, brother?
We're actually out of time.
Oh, we are? Oh, yeah. Man. Okay.
That was quick.
That was quick.
I want to thank you, because we're not done yet.
Okay.
We'll talk more later.
Thank you, man.
In other words,
great. I've enjoyed listening to a few. I'm going to listen to more of them too. I've listened to 2 or 3, and I love hearing these guys. It takes me back.
Yes. So thank you so much. And we will, as I said, there's more. We're not done with this.
All right. I got a lot more to talk about.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, especially with the music scene. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
And the Jesus stuff always.
Yeah. Well, the link, but as I said, that is the link between. It's like the music is the tool. It is
yeah.
It is the tool. It's like with, everything that you all already have, it's like that is the, I don't know. That's what I'll leave you with.
All right, brother.
Thank you
God
so
bless
much.
you, Rod.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye.